Hello there. This video is on the spiritual attribute of spiritual attunement. What is attunement? To attune to something is when you tune in. So attunement can be tuning something in. So someone's had an attunement because they've been attuned to something. But that's not really what I mean by spiritual attunement, as in you receiving a spiritual attunement. What I'm referring to here is you attuning at the spiritual level, or using your higher spiritual faculties to attune to people in a non-intrusive way, in a way that respects their privacy and their free will choices. So you're actually, when attuning to people, you're attuning to their soul, and you will be able to sense what their soul allows you to. It's attuning to situations so that you can get insights into those situations, see those situations from all the various angles, perhaps even get glimpses into what is not obvious and things like that, to help yourself or someone else to make wise decisions. And attuning to people and situations sometimes goes hand in hand, to be able to get insights into what's going on and what is the best thing then that should be done for everybody's highest good. So that's one aspect of spiritual attunement. And so when you're on your spiritual path, psychic abilities is something that's always associated with it in today's world. Now, a lot of people actually start their spiritual path because they're interested in psychic phenomena and they want to be psychic and all of that. And that's what gets them into groups and things like that. And then they are introduced to meditation and guides and spiritual principles and codes of ethics and all of that sort of thing. And often then those principles and of personal development, because personal growth and development and spiritual growth and development go hand in hand. And often those characteristics, I don't know if characteristics is the right word, but those things become more important than having psychic gifts. And what happens then is, okay, psychic gifts would be nice. If I'm meant to have them, I'll have them, but I'll focus on becoming the best person I can be and coming to understand spiritual principles so that I can use them in my life intelligently to assist myself to grow as a person, to grow my life and my life prospects, and to have a more positive and fulfilling life. And when you start focusing on those things and letting psychic abilities be a secondary thing, something that's not so important, interesting, yes, but not so important, what generally happens is you'll start to develop certain psychic abilities if you didn't have them before. Some people come into it with them quite well developed. So if you have them quite well developed, well then spiritual attunement is already underway for you. But for some people, they don't have any obvious psychic abilities. And often the best way to develop them is to stop focusing on getting them. and work on yourself and the kind of person you are. Don't go looking at other people with obvious psychic abilities and thinking, oh, well, not so sure that person's got such a high code of ethics, yet they've got psychic abilities. Okay, that's a topic for a totally different video all on its own. Okay, not for this one. Otherwise, we'll go off on a tangent. So just look at it that you are on this spiritual path. You are listening to a video that I'm producing. So I'm going to put forward what I consider to be the ethical or an ethical way to do things, where we don't seek to manipulate others, we don't seek to bypass their free will, we don't seek to spy on them or gossip about them, get information so we can have something over them or anything like that. No, we work on being the best person we can be. We work on developing a very high standard for our code of ethics. And we learn, we seek knowledge, we make a concerted effort to make our own personal connection to the divine. And sooner or later, certain so-called psychic, for want of a better word, I've been trying to come up with a better word actually, but I haven't yet. Because spiritual isn't quite the right word either. So anyway, we won't go into that either. Maybe one of you might come up with a better word. Please, if you do, please put it in the comments. Yes, you will develop certain abilities. And not everybody develops the same ones either. So it's no use saying, oh, I want this ability. Such and such can do that, and I think that's really cool, and I want that one. Maybe you're not meant to have that one. So if you're having a bit of a go at trying to develop it with exercises and it's not happening, just leave it. Focus on your own personal growth and development and spiritual growth and development as far as knowledge and understanding, expansions of consciousness, attempting to communicate with your guides, because that's a form of spiritual attunement, being able to communicate with your guides. You are attuning to them, they are attuning to you. It's a two-way street there. Often they will initiate it. They will start directing their attention towards you as a way in a way of attunement. They will use the spiritual attribute of spiritual attunement to attempt to initiate communication with you. But you can do it too. It always helps. It's quicker that way if it's happening from both sides, that you're also trying to attune to your guides. It might be a little bit hard if you don't know your guides, but surely you know that you want to attune to someone who has mastered physical life. Because if you're going to get guidance from someone, you want to make sure that they're going to give you the good guidance, the best guidance. And often that best guidance is wisdom that's been gained through experience. So you want wise guide. You want guides that are aligned to right action, that are aligned to the highest good in the universe, who have strong, pure connections to divinity. It doesn't matter if they're masculine or feminine, because actually where they are what we call the higher guides, are called androgynous, which means neither male nor female. But they often come to us as male or female. You and I could have the same guide. I might call my guide John, and you call your guide Mary. And then they're the same entity. And we don't know that. We might find out one day and then we'd have a good old laugh, wouldn't we? But it's because at the time perhaps I needed a male guide called John and you needed a female guide called Mary. That we weren't ready to communicate with a being that was neither male nor female. That we needed something, that we could relate to in a male or female way. Okay, so they will come to us as that, and more than likely as a personality that they did actually own in a life that they lived, and quite possibly a life they lived with you in a previous life. So you and Mary may have shared a life and formed a bond in that life. And John and I may have formed a bond in that life when he was John. That was his name, and that's why he's come to me at that. And initially, that doesn't matter. If we can make that connection and we can attune to them, they can attune to us, and we can get a two-way communication going, then they can teach us individually. We're not then reliant on other people. It's handy though. Sometimes they'll actually guide us to other people's books and videos because it's like, well, why should we say it more than once? This person's already got the information and this is the stuff we want you to know. So they'll guide you to it. But there'll be other times where you'll be given something that's just personally for you. So that's one of the things that is part of the spiritual attribute of spiritual attunement as well. So it's you being able to tune to people at the soul level, to situations, to get insights that can help you to better navigate life, or that you may be in a situation where you do it for other people to help them to make better decisions, not you making the decisions for them, not attuning to get the decisions, to get this is what you should do. No, attuning to the situation, and then you pass on what you've got so they can evaluate it and they can make their right decisions, because it's part of their learning, part of their growth to be dealing with this situation and to make decisions and then to have those consequences. So I will just leave it with that now, I think. I think I've said a fair bit, and this is probably a subject that could have quite a few videos about it when you think of the few things that I mentioned that are relating to spiritual attunement. It is rather a large area. And so I'll leave it at this and let you consider more and see if you can work on your ability of spiritual attunement. Thank you for listening to me.